Tonight, a big development in the case of missing Southern Colorado teenager Dylan Redwine. His death now ruled a homicide.
His father, now a person of interest. The La Plata County Sheriff's Office made that announcement today. They said last month there was a person of interest, but confirmed today that person is Mark Redwine because of evidence, inconsistent statements, and his behavior during the investigation.
For Dylan's mother, it's been 3 years of perseverance as she and detectives try to find answers in her son's death. She calls today's development a win in the path for justice. KRDO News Channel 13's Greg Miller spoke with Elaine Hall tonight. Greg, she says the clues they found led to something she knew all along.
You know, James, Elaine Hall wanted to talk tonight. She wanted to keep her son's memory alive. She always thought her ex-husband had something to do with Dylan's disappearance. And while Mark Redwine is only classified as a person of interest and not a suspect, she still says it's a step closer to justice for Dylan.
I felt it all along.
A mother's hunch proves true, that her son was killed.
It's the most horrific thing that we've ever encountered. But I have to believe in the process, and I have to have faith in those that are working to get justice for Dylan.
And after nearly 3 years with no answers, she still mourns daily.
You know, we should have been driving, you should have been in high school, and there's so many events that we've missed out on, and sadly we can't change that. But we all have to remain strong.
Dylan Redwine was last seen at his father's home in Vallecita over Thanksgiving weekend in 2012. His remains wouldn't be found for several months. Despite multiple searches of his home, Mark Redwine was never named a person of interest until today. In the last few weeks, former FBI investigator Pete Klismet was brought into the investigation, and last month he talked about what he found.
Just seeing the things that I saw just made me understand, or helped me to understand things even better than what I understood them before.
Mark Redwine only said in media reports he thought he might be a person of interest, but he never returned our phone calls for an interview.
All that comes from Mark Redwine's mouth is inaccuracies and unsubstantiated statements and, quite honestly, lies.
A wall of her house still dedicated completely to her son.
Just keep fighting the fight that we're fighting to make sure that, you know, he does remain out there and he does get the justice that he so deserves.
Now, investigators will not say what that piece of evidence was that led to the latest developments in this investigation. The La Plata County Sheriff's Office tells us crews will be back out at the scene where Dylan's remains were found early next month. In studio, Greg Miller, KRDO News Channel 13.
Greg, thank you. And investigators have been on the Dylan Redwine case for several years. As we mentioned, Dylan went missing in November of 2012. His remains were found in the mountains 7 months later, in June. In July of 2013, a coroner would not determine a cause of death. Mark Redwine's home was searched for a second time in August of 2013. A former FBI profiler from Colorado Springs was brought in at the beginning of 2015, and in June, Elaine Hall, Dylan's mom, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Mark Redwine. Just last month, the La Plata County Sheriff's Office said they had a person of interest.
And there is new information tonight on that wrongful death lawsuit against Mark Redwine. A judge today denied Redwine's request to throw out that lawsuit. The lawsuit claims Mark did not provide proper parental care, which resulted in his son's death. And you can find much more in-depth